White people do this. Black people do that.
For years, we've been told a very simple story about the rise of humanity. We all come from Africa. We all came out and slowly changed over time. But what if the real story is a lot more interesting and a lot more messy? Today, we're looking at Neanderthals, Denisovans, and the mixing of humanoids. We're taking down the out of Africa theory on MKUSUAL. All right, here's a controversial one. We're courting controversy this week with the rise and fall of the out of Africa theory. A re-examination of human origins. This has been fascinating me recently, and you too. I started a video last night, and you were like, is that guy? And I was like, how the hell? It wasn't even his voice. It was a ukulele.
He's got a soothing strum. And I think the cover was...
or a mandolin or something.
It was like Paint It Black.
Yes,
by Rolling
it was.
Stone.
Yes, it was. Oh, man. All right, we're not going to get in trouble this time.
I just realized that was this.
That's hilarious. For decades, the out of Africa theory has dominated mainstream anthropology, genetics, and archaeology as the primary explanation for modern human origins. It posits that Homo sapiens evolved exclusively in Africa around 200,000 years ago, then migrated outward in a single wave around 60,000 years ago, completely replacing all other archaic humans, Neanderthals, Denisovans, and Homo erectus without interbreeding. But in recent years, this once unassailable model has come under unprecedented attack, not from fringe theorists, but from cutting-edge genetic research, fossil discoveries, and archaeological evidence. The emerging picture is far more complex, revealing a human family tree that is not a straight line, but a tangled web of migrations, interbreeding, and lost lineages. If all this recent information has debunked this, why is it such an unpopular thing to say? Why has the out of Africa theory dominated for so long? And one is the political appeal. One, it's a very unifying narrative. It's like, hey, we're all the same.
Right.
We all literally came from the same place, and we all literally have the same genetics, and
We're all black.
every. So after the okay,
You can say it, Dennis.
after the horrors of Nazi eugenics, you didn't know I was going there, did you? You didn't know I was going there.
No, I walked right into it.
After the horrors of Nazi eugenics and scientific racism, anthropologists in the mid-20th century sought a theory that would emphasize human unity. All modern humans came from one African source. Discredit older polygenesis theories, which suggest that races evolved separately. Counter colonial era pseudoscience that positioned Europeans as biologically superior. And I get it. This is similar. We have a climate change episode this week too, if it hasn't come out yet. I get why those would be laudable goals. But if you let it get in the way of actual science, you're not doing good science. You're not helping the world.
Yes.
You can't just turn it into a new creation myth.
It's
Also, there's nothing inherently about like the polygenist. There's nothing inherently racist about that. There's nothing inherently saying that one person is better than another because they're part Denisovan. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
But I get why your mind would go there because there was so much racism.
and probably the scientists who said those theories may also be racist. It's like, if true, while true, you have to like evaluate it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, go on.
Well, there's one famous study, 1987 mitochondrial Eve study, which provided genetic backing, claiming that all living humans descended from a single African woman 200,000 years ago. And that's something you have to reckon with. I think at the end of this, we're just going to have to reckon with what we call a human being.
The mitochondrial Eve, that's the powerhouse of the pussy.
Dear God. So let's look at... Here's how the fossil evidence seemed back then. So here's some findings.
What year was that study?
That was 87.
87. Okay. And this is the fossil record, like around that time.
This is how we saw the fossil. Yeah, this is how we saw the fossil record around that time. So there's Homo kibish, discovered in Ethiopia around 200,000 years ago. It's an early Homo sapien skull. There's Hurto man, also in Ethiopia, around 160,000 years ago, a nearly modern human. Then there's Classius River caves in South Africa, around 120,000 years ago, with early human remains. These finds appeared to show Africa as the sole cradle of modern humans. And the replacement model has a simplicity to it. The out of Africa theory does. It offers a clean, easy to teach story. There's one point of origin, East Africa. There's one migration event, 60,000 years ago. No messy interbreeding with inferior, quote unquote, Neanderthals that made it. And this made it the favored model in textbooks, museums, and documentaries for decades. This is what I grew up learning. But apparently there's some cracks. Here's some evidence that debunks a strict out of Africa theory. We have uncovered genetic evidence of widespread interbreeding. There's Neanderthal DNA in modern humans. This was discovered in 2010. Svante Pabo's Neanderthal Genome Project shocked the world by proving that all non-Africans have 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA, and this could only happen through interbreeding, and it contradicts the complete replacement claim. 2, there's the Denisovan hybridization, 2010 to present. Melanesians and Aboriginal Australians are 4 to 6% Denisovan. Tibetans have the EPAS1 gene, a high-altitude adaptation that comes from Denisovans, and Southeast Asians have traces of an unknown ghost hominin DNA. So a lot of us are 1 to 4% Neanderthal. I've heard Asia a little bit more. And then people in this certain part of Asia have the Denisovan, another form of early hominid. But people in Africa have ghost populations. This comes from studies from 2017 to 2023. The Yoruba and Mabuti peoples have somewhere from 2 to 19% DNA from an unknown archaic humanoid. San Bushmen have traces of deeply divergent lineage. This proves that 1, modern humans did not replace archaic groups, we absorbed them, and the pure African origin model is false. So here's some fossil evidence of early non-African Homo sapiens. There's a cave in Israel, the Missalea Cave. In 2018, they discovered 194,000-year-old Homo sapiens jaw, which predates the supposed single migration by 130,000 years, proving that humans left Africa in multiple waves. There's a skull in Greece, the Apodema skull, that's 210,000 years old, older than most African Homo sapien fossils, showing humans reached Europe far earlier than believed. Then there's this one's interesting. The Dragon Man in China, discovered in 2021,
A literal dragon.
146,000-year-old, may represent a new human species, Homo longi, and suggests multiple human lineage coexisted in Asia. Let's talk about the new model, the African leaky replacement. The emerging consensus among geneticists is a hybrid model. Homo sapiens did originate in Africa, but much earlier, 300,000 years ago or more, and across a wider region of North and East Africa. Multiple migrations out of Africa occurred, some as early as 200,000 years ago, which was those skulls in Israel and Greece. There was extensive interbreeding with Neanderthals, Denisovans, and other unknown hominins. Some populations, like sub-Saharan Africans, remained relatively isolated, while Eurasians became hybrids. Key implications: racial traits, light skin, red hair, blue eyes, come from archaic humans. Neanderthal genes linked to pale skin, red hair, the MC1R variant. Blue eyes may originate from mixed sapien Neanderthal populations. There is no such thing as a pure Homo sapien as ever existed, and we are all hybrids. Human evolution was not linear, but a braided stream of mixing populations. I mean,
That's just kind of implied. That there wasn't like Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, like
right.
there. how could there be? And now they can prove it with the gene sequencing.
Well, we say how could there be because I mean before the gene stuff, all we had to go on was bones. And
Right.
it would be a weird story to tell. So you would just say that we all had common. I mean, I was watching a thing last night that was saying that ghost population in Africa, like I think on average they said a sub-Saharan African person has 11% of this ghost population. And it's either like Homo erectus or some other earlier form of human. But again, I got to ask, like, where's the line? You know what I mean? Like, we're all clearly human.
This I didn't think I was going to get to work this in, but I'd get to, because you're talking about 300,000 years ago in Africa, saying that Homo sapiens showed up earlier than we previously thought.
Yes.
And this is just a quote in the intro of Blood Meridian from a paper from the Yuma Daily Sun. The quote, Clark, who led last year's expedition to the Afar region of northern Ethiopia, and UC Berkeley colleague Tim D. White also said that a re-examination of a 300,000-year-old fossil skull found in the same region earlier showed evidence of having been scalped.
300,000 years. Dude, they find stuff like footprints in like 5 million year old rock.
Yeah.
So obviously this was suppressed, one, due to fear of racist misinterpretation. Scientists avoided anything that could be twisted into separate racial origins. Multi-regional theory was unfairly linked to eugenics. There's also institutional inertia. Textbooks, museums, and documentaries have invested heavily in the out of Africa theory, and grant money flows. There it is again, grant money to African origin research. And of course, the media likes to oversimplify, like mitochondrial Eve. It's a great headline, but complex hybridization is not. Documentaries like The Journey of Man 2003 like to push a clean narrative. I think like the use it. How could it not be this way if all these different humanoids existed? Well, okay, so here's some unsolved mysteries that also point to this. The future of human origins research. We got who's the African ghost population? Did some hybrids like Denisovan survive until recently? Why did some populations like Native Americans have unique archaic DNA? There's also medical and ethical implications. Neanderthal genes affect COVID risk, depression, and immunity. And the myth of racial purity is biologically false. What we have here is a more honest human story. The truth is messier but more fascinating. We are not the products of single superior lineage, but the living mosaic of countless lost human species, most of whom still live on in our DNA.
This makes sense with like the Tibetan people having a gene that's adapted them to the climate that they're in. Like that having this diversity would make us more robust as a species.
Oh, yeah.
We would carry these either dormant or active DNA that, like, if the world were to cool down again, those genes would get switched on or heat up again, and those genes would get switched on, and we would adapt. And
I don't see why. I mean, so you have essentially the story is that other races of humanoids. I'm gonna see a chart. Oh no, it's taking me to like World of Warcraft shit.
uh-oh.
Okay, let's see here. So we have Homo habilis, Australopithecus, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis, I guess the Denisovans, and Homo sapiens. So we call ourselves Homo sapiens, but really we're mixes of all that. Homo habilis is also one that they thought might be the ghost species. But what is this? Okay, let's talk about these implications.
Why'd they give the Homo sapien a mullet?
Yeah, what's the deal to emphasize he's less hairy? And I know there's definitely some racism inherent in a lot of like that late 1800s Darwin stuff, but man, you got to go where the truth leads you. So basically, let's go through the timeline here. So Homo habilis, Denisovans are an archaic human group, and their DNA is found in modern populations in Asia, Australia, and Pacific Islands, suggesting interbreeding with Homo sapiens. As a distinct group, they're considered a distinct branch of the Homo family tree, related to both Neanderthals and modern humans, but not directly ancestral to either. So there's some kind of common ancestor all these things came from. That would be, I would think, where you would call like that's the first person, right?
Yeah.
You'd have to.
Yeah. Chicken wings are their arms. I've said this before.
It always goes back to
We're
chopping up people.
We're shaped like chickens, essentially. We just had different adaptations. We were isolated and different. I don't know. I don't even like understand enough. I have to kind of take what I'm given on this because I don't have enough of a base of knowledge to fully grasp. Because I've read Darwin and I thought, oh, I'm going to understand evolution because I don't believe in God. So this is what I need to know to validate this new belief I have. And then, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. And then there's just so many questions that came up. I kind of let it go. And then here we are. We're able to find it out.
Genetically.
Right. And in like a way that's kind of undeniable.
They have found 90,000-year-old remains of a hybrid daughter of a Neanderthal mother and a Denisovan father. Go back and check out the Ebu Gogo episode.
I was thinking about that too.
Those remind me of the Homo habilis, or the
Yeah.
Australopithecus. Which, by the way, that means that a lot of these, like what we would call primitive or, ancient humans, a lot of them had to have technology like boats.
Right. And like maybe these branches are just like over the course of 300,000 years, you're going to go through multiple like extinction level events in different areas. And that would isolate populations of people, it'd set their technology back,
Yeah.
So they would get isolated and they would adapt this way, while over here, these other that all had a common ancestor at some point, like.
Well, apparently they lived and bred together, so in their world, they probably didn't see each other as that much different. I mean, they really don't look that much different.
Right.
What, a guy's hairier than another guy, or his face is a little more sloped? Like,
Right.
if they were living in that Siberian cave, which is where they found that girl. So I'm not sure if there is...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, like the timeline of this, it's moving, they're moving along, but something happens here, and this one keeps moving, then they get out and they catch up, and then.
Well, we
I
definitely
don't know what I'm trying to say.
That's all right. We definitely know there is such a thing. There is Homo sapien.
Yes.
We definitely know that one part of us is all the same. But that shared common ancestors with these other things. So this is where my mind goes. My mind goes like, what does this say? Because we already brought up mitochondrial Eve. What does this say about like the Book of Genesis or like the Sumerian creation myths? There's also some evidence that some of these races came back down into Africa.
Okay. I was thinking about Pangea.
That was millions and millions of years ago.
Yeah.
But-
But maybe humans are that old. We started on Pangea, and that's where I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. See, this is why I just like can have these association thoughts. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know. This is interesting.
Man, you look up the biblical context, dude. There's people saying Adam and Eve were Denisovans. There's people saying they're Neanderthals.
Oh, wow.
This is a disgust. I would think that. I think it's clear, like Homo sapiens, like none of us are pure. Apparently, literally none of us are pure Homo sapien. That would be crazy. I wonder what that would be like. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
What would that even? Because kind of another reason why this is so controversial is like there's kind of this like idea that we're all modified African people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you just got more white because the sun wasn't as harsh. I'm sure part of that's true, but then I don't know, man. I think this is very exciting. We should probably come back to it.
I think so too. And it sounds like a lot of stuff has come out in the last 10 years, and probably even that isn't fully understood, or there's cross referencing that would give more context. And
I gotta know. Nutcracker man. All right. You know, what's that famous line? They're like, so Cain basically, after he killed Abel, I believe he asked God, he said, like, when I go out, the people are going to, like, kill. He references other people.
Oh.
He says that the other people are going to, like, kill me because they know I'm a murderer. So he gives Cain a mark as a sign that if you kill Cain, like, it'll come back on you, like, sevenfold. But it references that there are other people. I just think it's interesting, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, if you look at, like, mythology and biblical history as, like, a lineage up to the modern, it doesn't mean there can't be other people. You know what I mean? Like, this provides some kind of framework for what happened to us after a certain, I don't know. It's hard not to go. We'll just have to do a whole other thing on that. But okay,
Yeah.
final thoughts.
It doesn't surprise me that what I was taught in school is not true.
No. I'm just expecting it at this point.
The bastards have done it again.
There it is. Bazinga.
Yeah.
Okay. Drop your favorite All right.
Drop your favorite type of human being below.
Drop your favorite type of human being below. Bye.
We love you.